You think you have to be a GP to win in real estate, to raise money, to buy buildings, to be the face of the deal? Nah, let's break that myth today. Okay, so here are the four resources that you must leverage in real estate. I need to frame this entire real estate game around these variables. Time. Do you have the time, the flexible schedule, or are you stuck in a W 2? Do you have family commitments? Do you have the time necessary to manage a multifamily property, a duplex, a triplex, even? Do you have the time to manage an entire portfolio? Yes, it takes time. It takes a lot of time if you're going to do it correctly. And you need to be willing or understanding at least of the time commitment that you will need to put in if you are expecting to be a GP, a general partner on these deals. Even if you're expecting to be a JV partner, that is an active partner. If you think you're going to be active, you need to understand, do you have the time to do it? Why? Well, you're going to be hit with a slew of decisions that need to be made. It's inevitable. Everybody gets hit with this, whether you're sitting either next to the property, like one of my partners, or you're thousands of miles away, like myself. You're going to get hit with a ton of decisions, and every day is different. For example, you might get hit today with a bunch of different maintenance requests, and you have to decide on how to handle them, which vendor to use, how to get them taken care of quickly and in accordance with the law. You might get hit with somebody that is not paying their rent. You have to relay and convey the message to the third party property manager or your in house property manager or yourself if you're doing that, how you're going to handle the situation, whether or not you're going to get the sheriff involved. Are you going to evict them? Are you going to give them some sort of payment plan? Are you going to request them get a cosigner? What are you going to do about these different situations? And are you going to keep their security deposit? And are you entitled to? Maybe it's time right this minute to recreate and reinvent your lease, your entire lease. Now, let's say it's tax season and you have to make a payment. And if you pay by a certain date, you can pay early and you will be given a discount, let's say. You got to make that decision now. But then you're balancing between, do we do this CapEx because we just lost an AC that broke down and it's going to be a $5,000 expense? Can we afford both of them? Have we budgeted properly, etc.? Then comes insurance renewal season. Who are you going to go with for insurance? What does your bank require for the insurance carrier to have? There are so many decisions that have to be made every single day. For example, again, I just can't stop with this because it's so time consuming that I need to convey it. For example, I have people reaching out to me constantly throughout the day about leasing certain units. They're asking me about different pricing, different price points. I have to communicate with them about what we require from them. And a lot of them are tire kickers. So out of every 20, let's say, maybe we'll get one of them that applies. And what do we do about that? Do I need to renew the listing? Do I need to change the photos for the listing? Do I need to ensure that I respond quicker? There are so many things that are time consuming that if you're not aware of this as an owner operator, you're going to be screwed flat out. Okay. Do you have W 2 constraints? Do you have a family? So the time that you can put into this is crucial. You need to understand that you're not just adding something to your plate and it's going to be simple and hands off. If you expect to be active as a general partner or a joint venture partner, or just owning the building yourself, there's a huge time commitment. Be real. Next up, education. Are you educated enough? Are you trained? Are you learning still? Are you brand new or are you seasoned? Take that into consideration. So, how much time do you have to give to this game? How much education do you have? And yes, it's okay. It's acceptable to have minimal education and still get involved because you can learn on the job. And I'm a fan of that as well. And it's possible. Just take it into consideration. What about your experience? Number three, your expertise. Do you have deals under your belt? Have you done deals before? Maybe you've worked as a partner on deals, and that's sufficient as well. But is it sufficient enough for you to actually take the reins now and take charge of your own deal? Maybe, maybe not. You have to decide this for yourself. Have you worked in operations before? Maybe you're doing it today on your actual W 2. Maybe you have your own business and it's similar and you can overlap some of the skill sets that you have from your other job with this new job that you're taking on by being a general partner or a joint venture partner or just by owning and operating a multifamily property. Have you worked in finance before? Do you understand spreadsheets? Maybe you can do the bookkeeping and handle that side. There's a lot of jobs for you to take on as a multifamily investor, but do you have the experience and expertise? And if you don't, it's okay to still get involved. Just don't involve other people's money. Do the deal by yourself or with people that are understanding of where you're coming from and learn together. That's okay. Now, capital. This one's huge. Do you have the capital to invest, or do you need to earn sweat equity in the deal? So I have to be a GP. You might not have to be a GP. I have to be an active owner operator. You might not have to be an owner operator. For example, if you have enough money to invest in a deal, you should be investing that capital in your deal and perhaps other people's deals as a limited partner. Let me clarify this. When I close a deal, let's take the latest deal that I closed, the 6-unit property. We did this as a joint venture deal between a few of us. We owned the deal together. I earned sweat equity for certain portions of the deal, right? A certain percentage of the deal was given to me for the sweat equity of finding the deal, getting it under contract, putting the deal together, getting it to the closing table, etc. Now, the other portion of it, 70% of the deal is reserved for capital infusion, a capital investment. So I invested some money on that side as well to earn a return. The only way that I'm going to earn a return on this deal is if my capital earns a return first, because we set a preferred return for it, even though it's a joint venture. Okay. So once we hit that preferred return of 6%, anything after that, I will partake in as a general partner. So I have two buckets in this. I have my sweat equity bucket, which you might be under the circumstances of needing and having to get into a deal or involved in a deal with only through sweat equity because you have zero capital. It's fine. Just understand the difference. And then the 70% of the ownership goes to the capital bucket. So anything, all of the returns go first into the capital bucket. Then if there's anything left over, it gets split up a little bit to the general partnership / sweat equity bucket. So if you have tons and tons of capital to inject into these deals, you should be investing as a limited partner. Yes, you can also invest as a general partner. You can also be a sweat equity general partner. You can do it, but you're going to be putting your money in as a limited partner on your deal and other deals. Let's review. You need the time to be a general partner. You need the education, you need the experience and expertise, and you need the capital. But the one thing that is different here, if you only have the capital out of all of this, you are scot-free and you can just be a limited partner. I don't have that luxury. I have to be a general partner. In other words, I have to be an active member of a multifamily team because I don't have enough capital for it to earn a return that is significant enough for me to replace my W-2 income. Simple as that. Now, you might, and if you do have the capital to invest, you're going to invest as a limited partner on other people's syndications, as well as your own syndications, and you're going to invest as if you want it to be active as a joint venture or as a limited partner. And you can also invest in your own opportunities and have a minimal role by putting your capital in as an LP and having somebody else manage the deal for you. Okay, so capital, having money gives you the most freedom and the most flexibility out of all of these options. So the GP path, who is the GP path for? The GP path is high risk, okay, but it could be high reward if you make it work. It is great for people like me who need to have some extra income, who are natural leaders, who are hustlers, and those who can handle pressure. Now, listen to this, guys. I have over 30 limited partners in some of my deals. I have to answer to them. And they're asking questions. How come we're not getting a distribution right now? How come this distribution isn't what we projected? Or this deal is going great. How are you and your family doing? Right? I have to constantly be engaged with these investors, and I am on the hook for the money that they invested, and that is a huge burden to bear. You are a fiduciary of these people's capital. You need to understand that this is their livelihood. They earned all of this money and they're placing it with you in the hopes that they're going to earn a good return on it. So you are a fiduciary. So, what else? You need to be able to handle pressure, yes. Often means zero cash flow for you early on. You must be a good communicator. You must be a good operator. You must have a lot of grit. You need to stick with it. You need to be in the game. You need to be knowledgeable of what's happening, not only in the economy and in the national market, but as well as the local market where you're in. You need to make property visits frequently and or have boots on the ground in the area. You need to have all the connections with the property management team, the third party vendors, and the third party property management, and the legal team, and find the best rates for reducing taxes, find the best rates for insurance, etc. There's so much that you have to do. And if you're not willing to do it or don't have the time to do it, reconsider your position. Now, the LP path. This is my favorite, guys. I am going to be investing forever. And I hopefully will have enough money to just invest as an LP or invest as an LP and a GP. Right now, my LP capital is extremely limited, which is really restraining me from growing. Now, remember, one of the main objectives of investing in real estate is number one, capital preservation. You don't want to leave your money sitting under a mattress. It is going to be eaten away by inflation. So that money needs to be working for you and earning a return at least enough to beat inflation. So today you can invest in something like a money market fund or a high yield savings account or a high yield checking account, right? You can do that today and get anywhere from 2 to even 5% return on your capital. And that is phenomenal. Okay. It's something you need to consider. So when you're investing in real estate as an LP, you're going to also need to consider your cash on cash return to be at least that 5% threshold. Otherwise, it's too risky. But you might have a very high risk tolerance and be willing to get into a deal that could provide higher returns than that 5% cash on cash based on appreciation and other factors, depending on whether or not it's a new build, new construction, or you're getting into a deal with a bridge product, or you're getting into a deal with like that is maybe a new development deal, a development project, etc., and that will take time to bear fruit. That is understandable as well. But the benefits about being an LP are extremely lucrative in my mind. Hands off, still building wealth. You don't have to do anything. It's ideal for busy professionals that have capital that just don't have the time to figure out the best way to invest. Lower risk and way more predictable than being a GP. For example, if I'm relying on beating the 6%, 7 or 8% preferred return, I'm taking on a lot of risk. On top of that, people might say, well, you're not risking anything, but I am because I'm signing on all of these loans. My house, my livelihood, my assets are tied to these loans because I sign on recourse or non-recourse loans, but typically they're recourse loans that I'm signing on. So yes, I have a lot of risk in this. Yes, I'm putting my face out there. So yes, I am the face of the company. And if I fail for my investors, I fail for my future because I will get a bad reputation and I cannot let this happen. What you do have to do as an LP is learn how to vet the general partnership team. Once you find a good GP team, you want to stick with them for a while and get references, referrals, etc. You can have a great general partnership team that will carry you through years and years of wonderful investments if they do the right thing. Once you find that team, stick with them and then branch out as well. You don't want to only stick with one team. You can go to various teams as well. Now let's talk about a hybrid role, maybe a co-GP. I've done that. Maybe a KP. I KP on essentially all of my deals, although I don't have a lot of net worth. You could be an asset manager, an underwriter, capital raiser, etc. You can be parts of the team. You don't have to be the face of the general partnership team, which can give you a little bit less exposure, right? A little bit less to risk in the sense that you are not putting yourself out there. And if it's the reputation that gets tarnished, maybe your reputation can be saved as a co-GP, KP, asset manager, etc. So you can play a specialized role and still own a piece of the pie. I was a co-general partner, co-GP. I brought in my network to go in on a deal, 194 unit property. I helped with a bunch of different things, small, menial tasks, but necessary. For example, some of the tasks included me writing the investor updates, me distributing the investor updates, me communicating with the investors, sitting on all of the asset management calls, providing input, insight, and guidance, and any other little things that needed to be taken care of. For example, if we had a code violation, I was responsible to call the city and figure out what's going on and maybe schedule having somebody go out to the property and look at it. Okay. So there are roles that you can play. And nobody really saw me as the main general partner of that deal, but I did a lot of work and I learned a lot. And that was a great role for me. You can be an asset manager. And if you have the experience of an asset manager, you can not be the face of anything. And I know asset managers that manage huge portfolios and make a decent living doing so. Let's imagine you are an asset manager for a property. As an asset manager, you can get 2% of the gross collected rents. So now let's say you you are the only asset manager on the deal, which is kind of rare. But let's say you are the only asset manager. I want to do some quick math here. So in order for you to, let's say, have a decent living, let's call it $10,000 a month, which for me would be a great living, you would have to be managing a portfolio that earns about $6 million in gross collected rents for you to get. Now, 2% of that $6 million would be $120,000 a year divided by 12, obviously, is $10,000 a month. So let's be realistic. You need to be managing about 500 doors. If each door is getting $1,000 a month in rent, you need to be asset managing about 500 doors to get that $6 million in gross collected revenue or gross collected rents and earn your 2% on that $6 million, which would be $120,000 a year. Not too unachievable, but it's just difficult to be able to manage that size portfolio all by yourself. If you are designated as an asset manager and this is your career, highly likely that you can make it happen. Otherwise, if you're building from the ground up like me, it's going to be challenging to get there. I only have 76 doors right now, and I only own maybe 20% of the asset management structure. And we don't even collect an asset management fee because we're pushing all of our returns to our investors. So there's a lot that goes into this, but it's possible. You could be an underwriter. And I have a quick story from last night. A friend of mine, a kid who is a junior in college, was asked and approached by a developer here in New York City to see if he would do some underwriting and jump on as a paid internship for the entire summer. And the kid took it. Awesome kid who's going to have a great future. He will be getting paid as an underwriter this summer with a well-known developer. Pretty epic. And you could be a capital raiser. However, you have to be very careful if you're going to jump in on a deal and designate yourself as a capital raiser that you don't raise any flags with the SEC. Extremely important. You cannot be a capital raiser for different general partners or different teams or different syndications. You can't just be a capital raiser. You need to have a license, a broker dealer license, and you need to be working under a broker dealer. Okay. So, very crucial. I do not hire capital raisers to do capital raises for my deal. They are all partners with me. Whoever I partner with, and I have a core team of about 5 people right now that we partner together on all of our deals. It is all hands on deck when we are doing our capital raise, and we all do it together. Okay. There are no designated capital raisers on my team because that's illegal and that would be a violation to the SEC. So be very careful. But raising capital and bringing capital to a deal is extremely crucial, important, and necessary. So do it, but do it right. So when you're deciding whether or not you're going to be an LP or a GP or both, I want you to choose based on the season of your life. Where are you at today in your life? What is possible for you to accomplish today based on those resources of time, experience, education, and capital? Where are you at? And don't let Instagram or Facebook or TikTok dictate your role. I want you to build a real strategy around your real life. Are you a young parent or are you a single 25-year-old? Do you have a high W-2 income or do you have no money at all, but you're willing to put in the sweat equity? Are you time rich or are you capital rich? Just some things that you need to consider. And I don't want you to overthink this because I do believe that everybody can and should be involved in multifamily real estate investing. But I want you to be very clear on your role. I've seen people burn out because they get stuck in something that they think is going to be a lot less time consuming and a lot easier and way more prestigious. And then they get into the deal, they realize the time commitment, they realize that they're not getting paid, and they just quit. I don't want you to quit. I want you to be successful, and I want you to be able to do this forever. So you don't need any permission. I'm not going to sit here and say yes or no, or good or bad, and give you a rating or a ranking or what you should do. I'm just trying to give you some guidance and advice. You can and you should invest. How you invest is up to you and based on the criteria that I told you. Please consider your time, consider your experience, consider your education, and consider your capital. You can build your own empire and you can win, but you don't need to be the CEO of every deal. I want you to get out there and I do want you to invest, but I want you to play your strengths and I want you to partner to cover the rest. I'm here for you and I love you. Ciao. All right, and that's a wrap, Small Axe community. So I wanted to take a minute to say thank you so much for listening to the show. And if you liked it or got any value from it, it would really mean the world to me if you would share it with someone else and write a review. Remember, guys, keep sharpening those axes. Let's get out there. Let's crush it. Love you guys.